There is no law that prohibits the use of headscarves in educational institutions, is what lawyers representing students who insist on wearing the hijab to educational institutes argued in the Karnataka High Court on Monday. Those arguments will continue today. They also pointed out that Centre-run Kendriya Vidyalayas give an option for Muslim students to wear headscarves in colors that match their school uniforms. This as many students returned to school on Monday. Some wearing hijabs were turned away.
These students, as young as 10-year-olds, were stopped by a teacher outside the Rotary School in Mandya district of Karnataka. The teacher of the private school was seen asking students to remove their hijab. Arguments ensued between the teacher and parents who refused to consider the request that if students could take their hijabs off inside the classrooms.
At least classroom gandanaru budi anta adru illa anta ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ಅವರು ಈಚೆ ನಿಂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಮೇಡಮ್ ಅವರು ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ಹೋಗಬಾರ್ದು, ಈಚೆನೇ ತೆಗೆಸಿ, ಇದೊಂದು ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್, ನಾವೇನು ಆ ಥರ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ, ಅಲೋ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ, ಇವತ್ತೊಂದಿನ ಮೀಡಿಯಾ ಬಂದಿದೆ, 144 ಸೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಇದೆ, ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ, ಒಳಗಡೆ ಬುಡಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ.
In Shivamogga district, about 150 kilometers from northeast of Udupi, the epicenter of hijab row in Karnataka, saw 13 students from 8th to 10th grade were sent back home without writing exams after they refused to remove their hijabs. A state minister said the students opted to leave the exams rather than take off their hijabs.
Exam का टाइम उधर ऑफिसर्स ने मना किया, आप लोग यूनिफॉर्म में रहिए और एग्जाम लिखो, लेकिन उन्होंने जिद किया, नहीं निकाली। तभी उनका माँ बाप को भी बुलाया गया। उनका माँ बाप आने का साथ साथ से 7 बच्चे बाहर आ गए एक साथ और घर गए.
The principal of Shivamogga Government School says students were told to remove their hijabs in accordance with an interim High Court order that said educational institutions could reopen but no religious clothing would be allowed. The parents claim that the school had allowed students to wear a hijab earlier. In Udupi district, where the controversy erupted in December, a class 9 student at a government-run school told NDTV that they were wearing the hijabs into school, but removed it in the class, and this they have been practicing since many years.
Has the principal instructed you not to wear hijab and come to school, college? Instructions enadru kottidara? Illa. So did they ask you to, do you remove hijab in the class when it is?
Yes.
You remove. Is that a practice by you?
Yeah.
It has been a practice.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a few classmates of yours, did they wear hijab in the class?
Yeah.
Did they wear? ಅವರು ಹಾಕ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರಾ?
ಅವರು ಮೊದಲು ಹಾಕ್ತಿರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ.
ಓಕೆ.
4 days ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಇಲ್ಲೇ ಇರ್ತಿದ್ವಿ, ನಮ್ಮ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲೇ ಇರ್ತಿತ್ತು. ಅವರೆಲ್ಲ ಹಾಕ್ತಿರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ ಮೊದಲು. ಮತ್ತೆ 3 ದಿನದಿಂದ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಅವರು ಹಾಕ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆಲ್ಲ.
ಅದು ಕಾರಣ ಏನಾದರೂ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆಯಾ ನಿಮಗೆ?
ಇಲ್ಲ.
You don't know.
Though tension has simmered across the state, the fate of many students who want to wear the hijab and attend classes hangs in balance. Even as protests simmered across the state and also classes resumed for high school for 9th and 10th, what we did see on ground was many students were not allowed to enter educational institutions wearing a hijab. In fact, today in Karnataka High Court, while hearing some of the major submissions being made by the Defence Counsel of one of the petitioners, Mr. Kamath did of course mention saying that the dress code that's been followed by Kendriya Vidyalayas that's run by the central government. Now, according to their dress code, it does has prescribed that where Muslim girls will be allowed to wear headscarves matching either with their bottom wear as far as the skirt or a trouser is concerned. Hearing all these submissions, the High Court adjourned the case to tomorrow 2:30 p.m. In Udupi, with camera person Govind Srija for NDTV.
And the Karnataka government has said that all colleges that were closed due to the protests will open from tomorrow. That's the 16th. Well, let's go across to Srija now for more. And Srija, classes opened till class 10 yesterday, and we did see some girls being turned back for wearing the hijabs. But now the arguments in the court seem to point out the fact that Kendriya Vidyalayas are allowed hijabs as a part of the uniform.
Yes, as far as yesterday is concerned, we saw various instances, in fact, being reported from Mandya district as well, and also various other districts, including Shivamogga, where government school both and including private schools, they had not really allowed students, female Muslim students who were clad in hijabs. What we did see was that they were asked to remove the hijabs just outside the gate, school premises, and then enter the premises or the campus of that particular school. So when we did speak to the principal of both the schools, what they said was they were just following the orders, the interim order of the High Court, which said that no religious garments, be it saffron shawls, or even for that matter, even hijab would be allowed inside the campuses. So they were clearly in accordance with as far as the High Court's interim order is concerned. But as far as the hearing just yesterday that happened, we saw the Defence Counsel and Senior Advocate Mr. Kamath, where he did make submissions talking about where Kendriya Vidyalaya schools, this is back in 2012, they had incorporated a change in the dress code. Now, in that particular dress code change, what we did look at was the girls especially. We see that they have been prescribed a skirt or a trouser along with a shirt, but that apart, they have been also given a chance to wear a headscarf, but that should be matching with the skirt, the bottom wear, that is the skirt or their trouser. So this was the submission which was made by Mr. Kamath, but along with it, we understand he did speak of where the government order, which was dated February 5th, where the Karnataka government did say that the prescribed uniform code needs to be followed and that nobody should be allowed to wear in terms of any religious garments. So that clearly did, of course, go against the interest of a lot of students, and that also led to violence and protests across the state as well. So this was one of the major submissions being made by Kamath, also talking about this order by the Karnataka government was a non-application of mind, and that it did not really account for as far as in the interest of the students are concerned. So today the High Court will resume its hearing at 2:30, and the arguments not just from the side of the petitioners but also from the government side will be heard.
All right, Srija, thanks so much for joining us with those details. Srija, they're reporting from Udupi. A CBI Special Court in Ranchi will pronounce the verdict on one of the biggest scams of 950 crore Fodder scam. The court's likely to give the verdict in the 139.35 crore Doranda Treasury case, in which, among others, RJD Supremo Lalu Prasad is also on trial as one of the conspirators. This is the fourth case concerning the larger conspiracy, where Lalu, among others, have been named as accused, and so far he's been convicted and has undergone a sentence in 2 cases of the Chaibasa Treasury, where he was convicted of 7 years. Well, let's go across to Manish for more. And Manish, Lalu Prasad Yadav is going to be physically present as that verdict is announced?
Yes, of course. He, along with other 99 accused, have been asked to be present in the court from 10:30 onwards. Lalu will be there in the court by 11 o'clock. And of course, this is the 5th case of the Fodder scam where he is on trial. He is already convicted in 4 other cases, out of which 2 were concerning Chaibasa Treasury. One was from Dumka and another was from Devghar. And CBI, the prosecuting agency, the prosecutors, they are very confident that this time also they will be, because they have presented a very strong case, so they will be able to secure the conviction of almost all the accused in this case. As you know, Gargi, Fodder scam is one of those few cases in the history of CBI where the conviction rate is over 90%. Gargi?
All right, Manish, thanks so much for joining us with those details. So all the accused, including Lalu Prasad Yadav, to be present in court when that verdict will be announced. Well, let's now get you election news and let's take a look at who's campaigning where today. And the focus is now on Punjab. Priyanka Gandhi Vadra will be campaigning for Manipur and Punjab. In fact, she will hold a virtual rally for Manipur this morning at 10:30, and then she will be in Punjab later, where she will do a door-to-door campaign in the Ropar Assembly, and she will also be in Amritsar for a door-to-door campaign, where she will campaign for Navjot Singh Sidhu, who is the candidate for the Congress from there. Now, Rahul Gandhi will also be in Punjab today. He will be in Rajpura, district Patiala. He will then be in Mansa and then in Barnala. Arvind Kejriwal will hold a road show and election meetings today in Ludhiana. Now, Uttar Pradesh had the second phase of polling yesterday. Nearly 60.44% exercised their franchise as polling for 55 seats in 9 districts of UP concluded in the second phase. Here's a report.
After today, polling is over in a quarter of UP's constituencies, and today's 55 are in a belt seen as a Samajwadi stronghold. Last time the party won 15 of its 47 seats here, despite a dismal performance elsewhere. Many of the districts that saw polling today have a sizable Muslim population, and the SP-RLD alliance is hoping to retain that vote and draw in votes from scheduled castes and non-Yadav OBC communities too. Also in the mix is the Congress that won 2 of the 55 seats last time. The big battle is in Rampur. Jail Lok Sabha MP and Samajwadi Party leader Azam Khan against the BJP's Akash Saxena and the ex-royal Nawab Qasim Ali from the Congress. The Nawab feels that 9-time MLA Azam Khan will get no sympathy for being in jail.
आपको क्या लगता है as a person in the political prisoner and no government has sent him to jail. He's committed a crime, so he has to face the consequences.
It's also interesting that the Nawab's own son, Haider Ali, is an NDA candidate from a nearby assembly segment called Suar, again with a sizable Muslim population. He is up against Azam Khan's son, Abdullah Azam. The BJP feels that not Hindus, but even Muslims will vote for them on law and order.
बलवाइयों का, बाहुबलियों का और बकैतों का ब्रदरहुड था, और ये जो है बलवाइयों, बाहुबलियों और बकैतों का जो 3B ब्रदरहुड था।
इसमें सिर्फ समाजवादी पार्टी है, सब लोगों को आपने लपेटा है।
अब इसमें जो है 3B बिड में तो जो पिछली 5 साल पहले जो सरकार थी, उसमें तो उन्होंने हाईजैक कर रखा था। अब योगी जी ने आके 3B ब्रदरहुड का बंटाधार किया।
But makers of the Rampuri Chhuri or dagger reveal a larger economic crisis faced by several sections here.
मेरी सोच ये है कि हम बनाते तो हैं और इसको बेचने वाले जो हैं वो हिंदू हैं। बाहर से जो लोग आते हैं वो हिंदू बिरादरी के होते हैं। मेरा एक का काम बंद है, उन 20 आदमियों का काम बंद है। अगर मैं इसको एक आदमी बनाऊंगा तो 20 आदमी लेके जाऊंगा।
नहीं, लेकिन ये कब से बंद हुआ? क्या इसी जो मौजूदा सरकार है इसमें बंद हुआ या बहुत जमाने से ऐसा हो रहा है?
ये 15 साल से है, लगभग इस पे 15 साल से बैंड है।
In second phase of Uttar Pradesh, Muslim population is significant. In Muradabad, Muslim votes are above 45%. In Bijnor, above 41%. And in Bareilly also, which is stronghold of BJP, Muslim votes are above 25%.
Chief Minister Adityanath, in an early morning interview, brought up his controversial 80-20 comment again, but denied it was targeted against any one community.
भाई मैंने तो 80-20 की बात की थी। मैंने कहा 80% बीजेपी के साथ होगा, 20% हमेशा विरोध करता है, विरोध करेगा। हमने जाति, मौत, मजहब की बात नहीं की थी। हमने तो 80 बनाम 20 की बात की थी.
An important vote in the Shahjahanpur district too, one of UP's major paddy producing areas, where 5 of 6 Vidhan Sabha seats are with the BJP. The biggest battle here on the southern or town seat, where 8-time MLA and UP Finance Minister Suresh Khanna is aiming for a 9th straight victory. Up against him, the Samajwadi Party's Tanveer Khan.
विकास के मुद्दे हैं. हमारी पार्टी ने, हमारी सरकार जब 2012 से 17 तक थी, माननीय अखिलेश यादव जी ने पूरे प्रदेश की जनता के लिए ऐतिहासिक काम किए, विकास किया. लेकिन भारतीय जनता पार्टी विकास के मुद्दों पर नहीं, बल्कि धर्म जाति के नाम पर पूरी तरह से जनता को गुमराह कर जो है वोट हासिल करना चाहती.
हमारा सिर्फ विकास और सिर्फ विकास ही एजेंडा है.
Like I said, there are long queues here. Male voters, also female voters in different queues, and all of them. अच्छा, किस तरह की नौकरी ढूंढ रहे हैं, मतलब क्या क्वालिफिकेशन है आपका?
हमारी बीएससी है. बीएससी फर्स्ट ईयर है.
तो नौकरी यहीं करना चाहते हैं? आपको लगता है बाहर जाना पड़ेगा?
अपने स्टेट में करना चाहते हैं.
आपको लगता है कि आपके स्टेट में अपॉर्चुनिटीज हैं इस वक्त?
जी अभी तो नहीं है, इस सरकार में तो नहीं मिली है.
नहीं है आपके साथ?
नहीं.
Voting will resume in UP after a 6-day gap. With Saurabh Shukla, Sanket Upadhyay and camera person Rajesh Gupta, this is Alok Pandey, NDTV.
In other news now, cryptocurrencies are akin to Ponzi schemes or even worse, and banning these is the most sensible option for India, the Reserve Bank of India's Deputy Governor said on Monday.
Cryptocurrencies have specifically been developed to bypass the regulated financial system. Cryptocurrencies are not amenable to the definition of a currency, asset or commodity. They have no underlying cash flows. They have no intrinsic value. They are akin to Ponzi schemes and may even be worse. They threaten the financial sovereignty of a country and make it susceptible to strategic manipulation by private corporates creating these currencies or governments that control them. All these factors lead to the conclusion that banning cryptocurrency is perhaps the most advisable choice open to India.
Well, let's now get you election news and take a look at what's happening. And Priyanka Gandhi will be campaigning in Punjab. Before that, at 10:30, she will address a virtual rally for Manipur. Then she will do a door-to-door campaign in Ropar, and she will be in Amritsar as well, where she will campaign for Navjot Singh Sidhu. Rahul Gandhi too will be in Punjab today. He will be in Patiala and then to Mansa and then finally in Barnala, where he'll hold a meeting. Arvind Kejriwal as well will address a press conference and then hold a road show and election meetings in Ludhiana. Now, yesterday we saw the second phase of polling in Uttar Pradesh and a single day of polling for Goa and Uttarakhand. Goa saw a whopping 78.94% voter turnout. It's a small state, but the stakes are high.
Eco-friendly green booths and all-women pink booths to welcome the Goan voter in this high-stakes battle. The governor was amongst the first to vote.
Our election system is perfect and we are considered as the largest democracy in the world. One thing I studied about Goa, there's no political clashes. The people of Goa are having a higher democratic concepts and political concepts.
The stakes are high. In 2017, the BJP got only 13 seats but managed to form a government with smaller parties and later by breaking the Congress. This time too, the Chief Minister is confident, but don't be so sure, says his Congress rival.
Yeah, it is definitely I'm confident that we are getting the 22 plus seats in the state of Goa. We are winning with a majority. Definitely all the people, they loves me, and whatever the infrastructure development required in the state, in my own constituency, which I had completed, and I'm fully confident I'm winning this election by more than 4,000 margin.
The Home Minister coming and campaigning for Chief Minister, that itself proves that he's losing the ground. I don't have to say much.
The X factor this time is parties like the Aam Aadmi Party. People want a change from Goa's defection culture, says the Aam Aadmi Party's chief ministerial candidate.
Last time people chose Congress here. They defected to BJP. Only one party which has come out in open and given a guarantees, given a vision for Goa is Aam Aadmi Party. So I think people of Goa are coming out with a hope, and that hope is culminating into the number of people who are voting right now. So I think there's going to be a sea change. This is a wave.
The voters here want jobs, better roads, a clean Goa and no corruption.
The garbage is all over the place.
and the roads are bad. The pothole roads, everywhere there are pothole roads.
Garbage is definitely an issue, dry garbage, and the roads, of course. And apart from that, I think jobs for youth. I think a lot of our youth are jobless.
The youth is very highly educated, so they should always opt for jobs which is according to their qualifications, and there should be transparency in this matter.
So the main issue right now is the need for a new face. What happens is when the same old politicians are participating for years and years together, there's no new ideas coming in. They just have their egos and attitudes playing in the game, and because of which the progress and development of society doesn't take place.
I don't want the country to split. So my vote was accordingly to that intention. And important is also the development of this place. Another important point was corruption.
As the sun sets, Goa has voted. In a small state like Goa, the margins between winners and losers is often too small, making it an extremely hard election to predict. Which way have the winds blown? We'll know on the 10th of March. With camera person Sanjay Mandal, this is Rishika Barua in Goa for NDTV.
And 70 seats of hill state Uttarakhand went to polls yesterday. 62.5% of voting took place till 6 p.m.
Elections in the Himalayan state of Uttarakhand, as challenging as ever. And as always, millions turned out to vote. For election staff, the pandemic was an added challenge to the tough terrain. The Chief Minister, the third time BJP Chief Minister in the last 5 years, is confident that he'll break the jinx of voters changing their government every 5 years and projects his 6-month term as an advantage.
हमारा विजन है हमारा कि हम उत्तराखंड को हिंदुस्तान का श्रेष्ठ राज्य बनाएंगे। नहीं, हम आश्वस्त हैं, अब की बार 60 पार निश्चित रूप से उत्तराखंड की देवतुल्य जनता अपना आशीर्वाद देके पूरा करेगी।
लोग परिवर्तन चाह रहे हैं। ये चुनाव तो आज उत्तराखंड की जनता बनाम भारतीय जनता पार्टी है।
Both the Chief Minister and his wife, seen wearing their party symbols at the polling booths, brushed aside questions if that this was a violation.
ये कंपेनिंग नहीं है, हम लोग हमेशा से ही जाते हैं, लोगों से मिलने जाते हैं, बूथ में देखते हैं। कंपेनिंग नहीं है, ऐसे ये कंपेनिंग नहीं है। इसमें तो जनता से जो है देखते हैं हम लोग क्या चल रहा है, कितना जो है वोटिंग हुआ है।
The people of Uttarakhand have voted for a new government in every 5 years, and as the state went to polls today as well, the main question remained the same, that whether Uttarakhand will get a government that talks and walks the development agenda of the state, which was the very basis for its creation as well. With camera person Pawan Tiwari, I'm Akshay Dongre for NDTV.
Cryptocurrencies are akin to Ponzi schemes, or even worse, and banning these is the most sensible option for India. That's what the Reserve Bank of India's Deputy Governor said on Monday. All these factors lead to the conclusion that banning cryptocurrency is perhaps the most advisable choice, he said.
Cryptocurrencies have specifically been developed to bypass the regulated financial system. Cryptocurrencies are not amenable to the definition of a currency, asset or commodity. They have no underlying cash flows. They have no intrinsic value. They are akin to Ponzi schemes and may even be worse. They threaten the financial sovereignty of a country and make it susceptible to strategic manipulation by private corporates creating these currencies or governments that control them. All these factors lead to the conclusion that banning cryptocurrency is perhaps the most advisable choice open to India.
And as COVID cases have now come down in Kerala, schools have reopened for physical classes. Here's a report.
Classes till 9th resume in Kerala after almost 25 days. For now, though, classrooms are working in batches divided over the week with no on-field playtime. 10 to 12 classes had started last week.
വീട്ടിലിരുന്ന് ക്ലാസ്സസ് കേൾക്കുന്നതാണോ ഇഷ്ടം അതോ സ്കൂളിൽ വരുന്നതാണോ ഇഷ്ടം? എന്താ കാരണം?
ഫ്രണ്ട്സിന്റെ സംസാരിക്കാം, ടീച്ചേഴ്സിന്റെ സംസാരിക്കാം. അതിന്റെ ഫാൻ തൊലഞ്ഞു വീഴുന്നു, അതുകൊണ്ട് എനിക്ക് കേറാൻ പറ്റില്ല.
The test positivity rate in Kerala has dropped below 20% compared to the 50% in the last week of January as daily COVID cases see a dip.
പ്രൈവറ്റ് ജോബൊക്കെ പോകുന്നവർക്കൊക്കെ വരുമ്പോൾ 8 മണി 9 മണിയൊക്കെ ആവും. ആ കുട്ടികൾ വരാത്തതുകൊണ്ട് അവരിപ്പോൾ വന്നിട്ടുണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ അവർക്ക് വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് ഈ ലെസൺ ഒന്നുകൂടി ആവർത്തിച്ച് പഠിപ്പിക്കുകയാണ്.
Back home, 5-year-old Ishani is yet to take off her crown, crafted by her teacher. It was her first day in school, though the academic session started last year in November. Her sister, 12-year-old Ishita, is also set to get back to her school for the first time since the beginning of the pandemic in 2020.
Ishani, school എങ്ങനെ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു ഇന്ന്?
So I'm going to school after 2 years and I'm really excited to meet my friends and well, we have new teachers because it's been 2 years and we've changed a lot.
Every primary class right now is half the strength, but this will change from next week onwards. But there's already one change on the ground. That's the excitement among children to return to their classrooms, even amid a pandemic with restrictions. The camera person SP Babu, Sneha Koshi for NDTV.
Well, let's now get you all the election news and who is where today. Today, Priyanka Gandhi Vadra will be campaigning for Manipur and she will be in Punjab. First, she'll hold a virtual rally for Manipur Congress candidates from Delhi. Then she'll be on a door-to-door campaign in Ropar and then in Amritsar for Navjot Singh Sidhu. Rahul Gandhi is also going to be in Punjab today. He will be in Rajpura district, Patiala, in Mansa and in district Barnala. Arvind Kejriwal will be holding a roadshow and election meetings in Ludhiana. All right, let's talk about UP now. And nearly 60.44% exercised their franchise on Monday as polling for 55 seats in 9 districts of UP concluded in the second phase of the 7-phase elections. The polling percentage was marginally lower than 2017. Now, with 2 phases over, the focus now shifts to the next 5 phases. Sanket Upadhyay explains.
That's right. 2 phases of polling is already complete in Uttar Pradesh. Half of the halfway mark is already done. Who will win or who will not, 10th of March is the date. But now the focus shifts to the 3rd phase. And this is a critical phase because while Western UP was all about the Muslim factor, the Jat factor, the farm agitation, the 3rd phase is about 2 important things. Number one, the test, the real big test of the Samajwadi Party in being able to save its fortress. Its battleground Karhal, from where Akhilesh Yadav is going to contest the elections. This was Mainpuri, Eta, Etawa, Kannauj, this entire belt usually considered a Samajwadi Party stronghold or the Pragatishil Samajwadi Party, that is Akhilesh's uncle Shivpal Singh Yadav's stronghold. But the point is, this fortress has been breached many times in the past. It has been breached in 2014. It has been breached in 2017. Can Akhilesh retain his fortress? That's the big question. Another big contest will be in Kanpur. Now, you must remember, among the original cities of Uttar Pradesh, Kanpur was a big industrial hub. It reeks of, urban apathy. But can those issues matter in polls, or will the BJP continue to continue its stronghold over areas in and around Kanpur? They're very confident that they will. It exerts a lot of monetary as well as political influence. The third important segment in phase 3 is Bundelkhand. Now this is the real backward part of Uttar Pradesh, terribly backward. If you compare it to the west, areas where there is no water, women have to queue up near shallow ponds and take that water for miles back home. How will the politics here play out? Traditionally, the Samajwadi Party and the BSP have done really well in this region. Can the BJP, which managed to breach this in 2017, do the same again? That is going to be the crucial test in phase 3.
Let's get to the latest COVID data that's been released by the Health Ministry, and 27,409 new COVID cases were recorded in the last 24 hours. The positivity rate is now 2.23%. Let's go across to Meher now for more. And Meher, so very good news coming in with the case numbers going down and the positivity rate also going down.
Yes, Kargi, in the last 24 hours, we've recorded a huge dip in cases actually. It's a 20% drop from yesterday. In the last 24 hours, there were 27,409 new cases. And yesterday, it was around 37,000. So a huge dip in cases we are seeing. And this is at a time when tests have actually increased by around 2 lakhs. So it is a really good sign on the COVID front. Daily positivity is at 2.23%. And weekly positivity rate is at 3.36. So positivity is also dropping, which is again a good sign. There are less than 100 districts which are reporting over 10% positivity. It's 92 such districts to be exact. But these districts are all over the country, in the northeast, in Kerala, Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh and other such states. So there are no longer any pockets of high positivity versus others. So all over the country, we are seeing a drop in cases.
So let's now get to the latest on election news back home and who's where today. Priyanka Gandhi will be campaigning for Manipur and Punjab. She'll hold a virtual rally at 10:30 for Manipur Congress candidates, and then Priyanka Gandhi Vadra will be campaigning in Punjab. She has a door-to-door campaign in Ropar and then a door-to-door campaign in Amritsar for Navjot Singh Sidhu. Rahul Gandhi will also be in Punjab today. He will be in Patiala, Mansa and then Barnala, while Arvind Kejriwal will be holding a roadshow and election meetings in Ludhiana. Now, 2 phases of elections are over in UP. Retail inflation has risen to a 7-month high and food inflation is at a 14-month high. In UP's Lakhimpur, polling in phase 4 of the all-important state election, Alok Pandey and Rajesh Gupta spoke to voters on what they feel about rising prices and inflation as an election issue.
There's worrying news on the retail and food inflation front in the newspapers this morning. So I'm in UP's Lakhimpur Kheri and I'm covering the election. So I thought, why not come to the city's most famous breakfast joint to try and get a sense of how this has affected people, especially given that this high-profile election is on. So I'm at the lovely Khasta Bandar. Now I'm told that these khastas here are the loveliest that you will get in Lakhimpur Kheri. And Lovely ji here is the owner of Lovely Khasta Bandar. Lovely ji, बताइए कितने सालों से ये चला रहे हैं?
अभी बताते हैं, ऑनर आ रहे हैं।
अच्छा, आप ओनर हैं? आइए आइए, ये बताइए कि ये कितने साल से आप चला रहे हैं?
ये हमको हो गए करीबन 19-20 साल।
19-20 साल। आपका नाम क्या है?
राकेश।
राकेश, ये बताइए क्या क्या, एक बार दिखा दीजिए राकेश जी, क्या क्या दिखा?
ये खस्ते हैं।
हाँ,
खस्ते हैं। और ये जो होती है कचौड़ी,
हाँ,
लंबी वाली, और पूड़ी रखते हैं,
हाँ,
दाल भरी हुई,
हाँ, बड़ा भी देते हैं। तो ये बताइए कि किस किस दाम पे दे रहे हैं आजकल आप?
खस्ता 15 रुपए का, कचौड़ी 15 की 2, पूड़ी 15 की 2।
पूड़ी 15 की 2, खस्ता भी 15 रुपए का, एक पीस 15 रुपए का। तो ये बताइए कि दाम पिछले कुछ दिनों में आपने बढ़ाए हैं कि उतने ही रखे हैं राकेश?
नहीं, इधर तो हमने नहीं बढ़ाए हैं।
हाँ, लास्ट कब बढ़ाए?
लॉकडाउन के बाद।
लॉकडाउन के बाद बढ़ाए थे। लॉकडाउन से पहले कितने का बेच रहे थे आप?
उससे पहले हमारा ये चलता था 12 रुपए का।
12 रुपए का, तो 3 रुपए आपने बढ़ाया। ये बताइए महंगाई, बहुत लोग ऐसा कह रहे हैं कि महंगाई बढ़ी है और महंगाई की मार आप जैसे लोग जो स्टॉल्स चलाते हैं या रेडिया चलाते हैं उनको पड़ी है। आप सहमत हैं इस बात से कि नहीं?
हाँ, प्राइस बढ़े हैं, अन्न पे बढ़े हैं, जैसे तेल वगैरह है उस पे बढ़े, दुगने से ज़्यादा वो हुआ है। तो जितने भी छोटे कास्ट के जितने भी छोटे दुकानदार हैं सब पे पड़ा है
जी। तो इसका दोष आप किसको देते हैं? बहुत लोग जो विपक्ष में हो सरकार को इसका दोष देते हैं।
ये सरकार के नहीं, ये एक नीति नहीं बना पा रहे, मतलब व्यापार में ये नहीं पकड़ बना पा रहे।
क्या समाधान है इसका आपके हिसाब से?
इसका तो हम नहीं बता सकते।
कोई बात नहीं, चलिए हम थोड़ा सा we'll just go to this side also and speak to all of these people. आपका नाम क्या है सर?
जी, सुनील सर।
सुनील जी, बताइए कि आज मैंने अखबार में सुबह पढ़ा, इसीलिए मैं आया यहाँ, कि जो होलसेल इन्फ्लेशन है और जो रिटेल इन्फ्लेशन है, रिटेल इन्फ्लेशन और खाने का इन्फ्लेशन जो है वो 6 महीने के हाई पे है, 6 महीने में सबसे ज़्यादा है। एज वोटर्स इन लखीमपुर और यहाँ के नागरिक होने के नाते क्या आपको लगता है कि महंगाई इस चुनाव में एक मुद्दा है?
जी, महंगाई क्या है, जो अब महंगाई बढ़ी भी रही है, हर चीज़ तेल वेल सब महंगा हो गया। तो आदमी ये 5 रुपये में कहाँ 6 रुपये में खिला पाएगा, 15 रुपये में 2 देते हैं। सही है, ऐसे आइटम इनका एक नंबर का है।
लेकिन आपकी व्यक्तिगत ज़िंदगी में क्या महंगाई एक मुद्दा है चुनाव का?
जी, महंगाई तो है ही सर, क्या जाए, हर चीज़ महंगी है, कोई भी सस्ती नहीं चीज़ है। जो 5 रुपये थी वो 8 रुपये की हो चुकी है वो, तो महंगाई तो है ही है सर।
सर, आप का क्या नाम है? अरे बता दीजिए क्या नाम है?
रवि गोस्वामी।
रवि जी, आपके हिसाब से महंगाई कितना बड़ा मुद्दा है इस चुनाव में?
महंगाई बहुत बड़ा मुद्दा है, क्योंकि सरकार जो आई थी बीजेपी की वो महंगाई के मुद्दे पे आई थी, तो महंगाई तो नंबर 1 का मुद्दा रहेगा ही रहेगा यहाँ पे। बस
आपके हिसाब से क्या सरकार ने इतना किया है? मतलब ठीक है, बहुत से आरबीआई और जो बड़े लोग हैं वो कहते हैं कि बहुत सारे फैक्टर्स हैं इसकी वजह से होलसेल और फूड इन्फ्लेशन ज़्यादा है। क्या आपको लगता है कि सरकार ने उतना किया है जितना करना चाहिए महंगाई को कंट्रोल करने?
देखिए, सरकार ने तो महंगाई को लेकर कोई भी इस तरीके के फैसले नहीं किए हैं जिससे महंगाई रुके, ठीक है ना। तो सरकार को इस पर सोचना चाहिए कि महंगाई रोके, क्योंकि जब कांग्रेस की सरकार थी, बीजेपी ने इसी नारों के साथ सरकार बनाई थी भाजपा की, तो हमारे हिसाब से इनको मुद्दा करना चाहिए कि महंगाई ना बढ़े, इसके लिए कुछ ना कुछ इनको करना चाहिए भाई। क्योंकि सिलेंडर 450 रुपये का जब कांग्रेस का था, कांग्रेस की सरकार में था, बीजेपी ने इसी दम पे सरकार बनाई थी कि हम आएंगे तो इनसे सस्ता देंगे, और इस समय मौजूदा स्थिति में 900-950 रुपये का सिलेंडर है, तो महंगाई तो मुद्दा ही है।
आपका नाम क्या है सर?
ललित।
ललित जी, ये जानना चाहूँगा, ये सिलेंडर की बात कर रहे थे, चुनाव में बहुत प्रचार हुआ है, कोई कह रहा है हम 3 सिलेंडर फ्री देंगे, कोई कह रहा है 2 सिलेंडर फ्री देंगे, कोई कह रहा है कि हम बिजली फ्री देंगे किसानों को सिंचाई के लिए। ये जो फ्रीबीज का चुनाव है कि भाई हम ये फ्री देंगे, हम वो फ्री देंगे, क्या आपको लगता है ये एक सही चीज़ है?
जी बिल्कुल सही चीज़ है। ये हमारी जनता की बेवकूफ़ी है कि हम लोग सही से टैक्स नहीं भरते हैं। ये भार जो है सरकार पे जाके गिरता है, जब सरकार पे जाके गिरता है तो आके हमारी पे वापस गिरता है, क्योंकि जब हम लोग सही से टैक्स भरेंगे, पूल टैक्स भरेंगे, ड्राइविंग टैक्स भरेंगे, मकान टैक्स भरेंगे, तभी जाके सस्ता होगा सब कुछ।
कुछ लोग ये भी कहेंगे सर कि जैसे जो टैक्स जिसके ऊपर लग रहा है वही अगर ज़्यादा टैक्स देता रहेगा तो फिर उसी के ऊपर भार बढ़ता रहेगा, और मतलब ये भी तो एक लाइन ऑफ थॉट हो सकती है।
जी, मेरा कहना है कि ये कि अगर सही से टैक्स सारे जमा होंगे तो और इंसान को ना कोई तकलीफ होगी, ना महंगाई होगी इतनी, और सबके लिए सुरक्षा होगी।
आपके हिसाब से बीजेपी सरकार ने, यहाँ आदित्यनाथ जी की सरकार ने महंगाई जैसे मुद्दों पे काम किया है या नहीं?
मुद्दा किया है, बिल्कुल किया है। विकलांगों के लिए किया है, बेरोजगारों के लिए किया है, और सबको फ्री सुविधा मिल रही है, राशन भी मिल रहा है, और हमें कुछ नहीं करना है बस।
आपके हिसाब से सही चल रहा है?
बिल्कुल सही चल रहा है।
चलिए ठीक है। So I just want to once again just end by showing you a few shots here, because this is what we should focus on. This is where the khasta gets prepared in the morning. So you can see that this masala, and I'm told that this will get over by 11 AM. So it really must be a very popular place. And I'll also show you this here. These are piping hot vadas that probably we'll also have in a bit once we are done with this news report. But diverse opinion here, diverse opinion from people about whether महंगाई or price rise is an issue in this election or not. With camera person Rajesh Gupta, this is Alok Pandey, NDTV.
And in other news, cryptocurrencies are akin to Ponzi schemes, or even worse, and banning these is the most sensible option for India, is what the Reserve Bank of India's Deputy Governor said on Monday.
Cryptocurrencies have specifically been developed to bypass the regulated financial system. Cryptocurrencies are not amenable to the definition of a currency, asset or commodity. They have no underlying cash flows. They have no intrinsic value. They are akin to Ponzi schemes and may even be worse. They threaten the financial sovereignty of a country and make it susceptible to strategic manipulation by private corporates creating these currencies or governments that control them. All these factors lead to the conclusion that banning cryptocurrency is perhaps the most advisable choice open to India.
Now, the LIC Employees Union protested against the impending LIC IPO that has been announced. The papers filed with SEBI. However, the finance minister says the government is committed to this and calls it India's biggest IPO.
There is a positive buzz in the air that the government has committed itself, and it's showing it. And because the way in which, in a way, it has been tailored, policy holders are going to get a share, retail investors are going to get a share, and there's this biggest IPO coming out.
In other news, COVID cases in Kerala have come down, so in-school learning open for classes 1 to 9.
Classes till 9th resume in Kerala after almost 25 days. For now, though, classrooms are working in batches divided over the week with no on-field playtime. 10 to 12 classes had started last week.
വീട്ടിലിരുന്ന് ക്ലാസ്സസ് കേൾക്കുന്നതാണോ ഇഷ്ടം അതോ സ്കൂളിൽ വരുന്നതാണോ ഇഷ്ടം? എന്താ കാരണം?
ഫ്രണ്ട്സിന്റെ സംസാരിക്കാൻ
The test positivity rate in Kerala has dropped below 20% compared to the 50% in the last week of January as daily COVID cases see a dip.
പ്രൈവറ്റ് ജോബൊക്കെ പോകുന്നവർക്കൊക്കെ വരുമ്പോൾ 8 മണി 9 മണിയൊക്കെ ആവും. ആ കുട്ടികൾ വരാത്തതുകൊണ്ട് അവരിപ്പോൾ വന്നിട്ടുണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ അവർക്ക് വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് ഈ ലെസൺ ഒന്നുകൂടി ആവർത്തിച്ച് പഠിപ്പിക്കുകയാണ്.
Back home, 5-year-old Ishani is yet to take off her crown, crafted by her teacher. It was her first day in school, though the academic session started last year in November. Her sister, 12-year-old Ishita, is also set to get back to her school for the first time since the beginning of the pandemic in 2020.
Ishani, school എങ്ങനെ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു ഇന്ന്?
അടിപൊളിയായിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നു.
I'm going to school after 2 years and I'm really excited to meet my friends and well, we have new teachers because it's been 2 years and we've changed a lot.
Every primary class right now is half the strength, but this will change from next week onwards. But there's already one change on the ground. That's the excitement among children to return to their classrooms even amid a pandemic with restrictions. With camera person SP Babu, Sneha Koshin for NDTV.